Hey there. Tonight, we're traveling back 900 years to a place you've probably never heard of in school. A massive city that once stood taller than medieval London, busier than Paris, right here in what we now call Alabama. You are standing at the edge of Moundville. The year is CE. You are not a tourist, you are not an observer. You are living this. You are a young warrior, barely 20 summers old, and your hands are already scarred from countless battles. The morning mist rises from the Black Warrior River, and somewhere in the distance, drums are calling your people to assembly. This city, this sprawling metropolis of earthen pyramids and wooden palisades, is your entire world. 29 massive mounds rise from the earth like sleeping giants. 10,000 souls breathe the same smoky air you breathe, but this paradise is built on blood, on brutal combat, on warfare that never truly ends. So dim the lights, get comfortable. Let me take you back to a time when America's third largest city wasn't New York or Chicago, but a place history somehow forgot. Close your eyes, feel the humid air, hear the river flowing. Your story begins now. You wake before dawn in your small dwelling, tucked against the inner palisade wall. The air smells of damp earth and wood smoke. Your sleeping mat is woven from river cane, and it has left impressions along your back and shoulders that will fade as the day warms. Through the gaps in the wattle and daub walls, you can see the first pale light touching the top of Mound A, the great ceremonial platform where the chief resides. Your body aches. Yesterday, you spent hours training with the war club, practicing the downward strike that must shatter a skull in one blow. Your instructor, an older warrior missing 3 fingers on his left hand, had watched you with those cold, evaluating eyes. He said nothing when you finally executed the movement correctly. Silence was his approval. You stand slowly, joints protesting. The fire pit in the center of your dwelling has gone cold. During the night, you'll need to rekindle it, but first you must report to the practice grounds. The plaza will already be filling with warriors, their breath misting in the cool morning air. Outside, the city is beginning to stir. You can hear the soft conversations of women heading to the river with clay pots balanced on their hips. Somewhere, a child cries out, then goes silent. A dog barks twice and stops. The rhythms of Moundville are as familiar to you as your own heartbeat. You reach for your breechcloth and tie it securely, then pick up the small stone blade you keep beside your sleeping mat. You run your thumb along its edge, still sharp. Good. In Moundville, sharpness means survival. You step outside in the morning mist. The narrow pathway between dwellings is damp beneath your bare feet, the earth still holding yesterday's rain. To your left, the massive wall of the inner palisade rises 12 feet high, pointed logs still dark with moisture. You can see the silhouettes of guards pacing along the raised walkway at the top, their spears held at rest against their shoulders. The smell of cooking fires begins to drift through the air, cornmeal being heated into porridge, fish being smoked over low flame. Your stomach tightens with hunger, but you ignore it. Warriors eat after morning training, never before. To fight on a full stomach is to invite sluggishness. And sluggishness means death. You walk toward the plaza, passing other warriors heading in the same direction. None of you speak. Words are unnecessary this early, and besides, everyone knows where you're going and why. There is a grim solidarity in the silence. You are all young men preparing for violence, and violence needs no introduction or explanation. The plaza opens before you like a vast empty field. It could hold 1,000 people when ceremonies demand it, but now it contains only perhaps 60 warriors, scattered in small groups, some stretching, others checking their weapons. The ground here is packed hard from generations of feet, smooth and slightly concave in places where water pools after heavy rains. Your instructor is already present, standing near the base of Mound B. He sees you and gives a slight nod. You walk toward him, your pace steady and measured. As you approach, you notice fresh wounds on his arms, long, shallow cuts that are still seeping slightly. He had been in a skirmish yesterday with a raiding party from the north. He survived. They did not. Your instructor begins the session without preamble. 5 lines, he says simply, and everyone understands. You form 5 rows of 12 warriors each facing Mound B. The formation is automatic, practiced 1,000 times. You take your position in the 3rd row, 4th from the left. Always the same spot, always the same neighbors beside you. The drills begin. First, the war club strikes. You mime the overhead blow, the side swipe, the upward thrust that catches an enemy under the jaw. Instructor walks to rows, occasionally stopping to adjust someone's stance or demonstrate the proper rotation of the hips. When he reaches you, he watches for 3 repetitions, then moves on. Still silent, still approving. Your muscles warm as you work. Sweat begins to mix with the morning mist on your skin. Beside you, a younger warrior, barely 16 summers, struggles to maintain the proper form. His strikes are too wide, wasting energy. You want to help him, but don't. The instructor will correct him, or he will die in his first real battle. Both outcomes are beyond your control. After the war club exercises, come the spear thrusts. Imaginary enemies fall before you as you practice the forward stab, the sweep that takes out an opponent's legs, the defensive parry. You can feel the phantom weight of the weapon in your hands, even though you're holding nothing but air. The sun has risen now, burning off the mist. The plaza grows warmer. Your breathing is steady and controlled. The rhythm of someone who has trained like this for years. Around you, other warriors make the same movements. A silent, deadly dance that has been performed in this plaza for generations. This is how Moundville survives. Through endless preparation for endless war, training ends when the sun reaches 2 hands above the eastern horizon. Your instructor raises his fist once, and immediately all movement stops. 60 warriors stand perfectly still, chests heaving, sweat running in rivulets down torsos and backs. The silence is profound. Then he lowers his fist and turns away. You are dismissed. You walk back toward the residential area, your legs heavy but functional. Other warriors disperse in different directions. Some head immediately to the river to bathe. Others return to their dwellings to eat. You choose food first, bathing later. Your hunger has become a physical pain, a hollow ache that demands attention. Your dwelling is exactly as you left it, the cold fire pit, the sleeping mat, the stone tools arranged along the wall. You keep a clay pot in the corner, sealed with a wooden stopper, containing your share of cornmeal and dried fish. You kneel beside it and remove the stopper, the familiar earthy smell of stored grain rising to meet you. You take a handful of cornmeal and mix it with water from a smaller vessel, creating a thick paste. You don't bother heating it. Raw is faster, and your stomach doesn't care about temperature. You eat mechanically, scooping the mixture into your mouth with 3 fingers, swallowing with minimal chewing. The dried fish comes next, tough, salty, requiring significant jaw work to break down. As you eat, you think about nothing. This is one of the skills you've developed over the years, the ability to empty your mind, to exist part. Thoughts lead to questions, questions lead to doubt, doubt leads to hesitation, and hesitation in Moundville leads to death. So you eat and you exist, and you let the morning's training settle into your muscles, like sediment, settling in still water. After eating, you make your way to the river. The path slopes gently downward, worn smooth by thousands of feet over hundreds of years. The Black Warrior River moves slowly here, dark and opaque, carrying silt from lands far to the north. You can see other warriors already in the water, and women upstream washing clothes and filling vessels. You wade in until the water reaches your waist. The temperature is cool but not cold, a relief against your overheated skin. You cup your hands and pour water over your head, over your shoulders, washing away the sweat and grime of the morning. The water runs down your back in thin streams, carrying dirt with it. You don't linger. Bathing is functional, not recreational. You scrub your skin with handfuls of fine river sand, paying particular attention to your hands and feet, removing the accumulated filth. The water around you clouds briefly with displaced dirt, then clears as the current carries it away. When you're clean enough, you wade back to shore. The sun is warm now, and you'll dry quickly. You don't own a cloth for drying. Such things are luxuries reserved for the elite who live atop the mounds. You simply stand on the muddy bank and let the sun and air do their work. As you wait, you watch the river. It's always moving, always flowing, indifferent to the city built beside it. Moundville could fall tomorrow, and the river would continue exactly as before. This thought should perhaps be disturbing, but instead you find it oddly comforting. Some things are beyond human conflict. Some things simply are. The river doesn't care about warfare or death, or the constant struggle for survival. It just flows dry enough. You return to the city proper. The plaza is now filling with people. The morning market is beginning. Not a formal structure, but rather an organic gathering where people trade goods and gossip in equal measure. You walk through it without stopping. You have nothing to trade and no interest in conversation. Near Mound C, you see a cluster of elders sitting in the shade of a ramada, a simple structure of poles and woven cane that provides relief from the sun. They're debating something, their aged voices rising and falling in a rhythm you recognize. Even if you can't make out the words, they've been debating things your entire life. Probably they'll still be debating when you're gone. You head toward the craftsman's area, located against the northern section of the palisade. Here, the specialists work, the ones who make the weapons you train with, the ones who create the ceremonial objects for the priests, the ones who keep Moundville functioning on a practical level. You need to check on your war club. You left it 3 days ago to have the stone head resecured to its wooden handle. The weaponsmith is a squat, powerful man named Stone Who Breaks. His dwelling is larger than yours, filled with tools and half-finished projects. When you enter, he's grinding a spear point against a sandstone slab, the rhythmic scraping sound filling the space. He looks up, recognizes you, and jerks his chin toward the back corner. Your club is there, wrapped in bark cloth. You unwrap it slowly. The stone head is greenstone, dense and smooth, fitted perfectly into the carved socket of the ash handle. He's done good work. The binding is tight, and even the sinew wrapped and tied with precision. You test the weight, the balance. It feels right in your hand, an extension of your arm, a tool made for one purpose only. You leave Stone Who Breaks his workshop with your war club in hand. The weight of it is comforting, solid, real, dependable. You make your way back to your dwelling to store it properly. Weapons should never be left lying about. They're too valuable, and theft, while rare in Moundville, is not unknown. Once the club is secured in its place along the wall, you find yourself with rare empty time. The afternoon stretches before you with no immediate obligations. Training is done. You've eaten and bathed. Your weapon is maintained. This is the strange space that exists between preparation and action, between training and actual combat. Some warriors hate this emptiness. You've learned to simply inhabit it. You decide to walk the perimeter of the inner palisade. It's something you do when restlessness finds you, a way to move without purpose, to observe without participating. The elevated walkway is accessed by log ladders placed at intervals along the wall. You climb one near the eastern gate, your muscles barely registering the effort. After the morning's training, at the top, the view opens. From here, you can see the entirety of Inner Moundville. The 29 mounds rise like breaching whales from a sea of dwellings and plazas. Smoke from hundreds of fires creates a thin haze that softens the edges of everything. To the west, beyond the walls, you can see the agricultural fields stretching toward the forest, rows and rows of corn, beans, and squash, tended by workers who look like insects from this distance. Two guards stand nearby, leaning on their spears, talking in low voices. They glance at you, recognize you as a warrior even though you're off duty, and return to their conversation. The sun is approaching its zenith now. The heat is building. Below, Moundville goes about its business, oblivious to your presence above. A horn sounds from Mound. A. 3 short blasts followed by 1 long note. You straighten immediately. That's the summons for warriors. All warriors, regardless of clan or status. You don't run, but you move with purpose, climbing down the ladder and heading toward the great mound. Others are converging from all directions. You see faces you recognize from morning training and older warriors you know by reputation. Everyone moves with the same controlled urgency. When Mound A calls, you answer, always. The great mound rises 70 feet above the plaza, its earthen slopes worn smooth by rain and packed hard by countless feet. Wooden steps have been cut into the northern face, making the climb easier, but still your legs burn by the time you reach the summit. You're not the first to arrive. Perhaps 40 warriors are already there, but you're far from the last. The summit of Mound A is a large, flat platform. At its center stands the chief's house, much larger than the dwellings below, its walls decorated with shells and painted designs. But today, you're not summoned to the house. Instead, a space has been cleared near the southern edge. And there stands the war chief, a man called He Who Breaks Shields. He's perhaps 40 summers old, his body covered in scars, one eye milky white from an old injury. He doesn't speak until all the summoned warriors have arrived. The gathering grows to perhaps 200 men, standing in rough concentric circles around him. The sun beats down. No one seeks shade, no one speaks. Finally, He Who Breaks Shields raises his hand for silence, though there's no noise to silence. The northern villages have raided our fields, he says, his voice carrying easily across the assembled warriors. They've taken food, they've killed workers, they've insulted Moundville. He pauses, his one good eye scanning the crowd. We march at sunset. The gathering disperses. You descend the mound with the others, your mind already shifting into preparation mode. Sunset means perhaps 4 hours. You need to eat, gather your weapons, and mentally prepare for what's coming. This won't be training, this will be actual combat. People will die. Perhaps you'll be one of them. Back at your dwelling, you go through your limited possessions methodically. Your war club is ready. You have a short knife made from flake chert, sharp enough to cut through skin and muscle. You have a small leather pouch containing parched corn, food that won't spoil, food you can eat while marching. You have nothing else worth taking. You sit on your sleeping mat and force yourself to eat again, even though your stomach has gone tight with anticipation. You need the energy. Your body will require fuel for what's ahead. The cornmeal paste tastes like clay in your mouth, but you swallow it anyway. As you eat, you think about the northern villages. You've never been there, but you've heard stories. They're smaller than Moundville, poorer, more desperate. That desperation makes them dangerous. A man with nothing to lose fights differently than a man defending abundance. The northerners have nothing to lose. You think about your instructor's wounds, the fresh cuts on his arms. He had survived that encounter, but others hadn't. 3 warriors from Moundville had died. Their bodies had been carried back and placed on platforms, exposed to the elements and the birds, their flesh gifted back to the sky. You might join them soon. It's not a frightening thought, exactly, just a realistic one. The sun moves across the sky with terrible inevitability. You emerge from your dwelling when shadows have grown long and the heat has begun to ease. Other warriors are also emerging, all heading in the same direction, toward the northern gate. No one has called you to assemble, but everyone knows. Sunset march means gathering at the gate. This is the unspoken rhythm of Moundville's warfare. At the gate, warriors cluster in small groups, according to clan. The Falcon clan, your clan, numbers about 30 warriors. You take your place among them, recognizing familiar faces. No one speaks. There's a tension in the air, thick and palpable, like the feeling before a thunderstorm breaks. He who breaks shields arrives as the sun touches the western horizon. He's painted now. Red ochre across his chest and face, black lines under his eyes and down his arms. The paint is traditional, meant to honor the spirits and frighten enemies. Behind him come the younger war leaders, each commanding their own group of warriors. One of them, a man called Strikes Twice, will lead your group. Strikes Twice is younger than the war chief, perhaps 30 summers, and known for his aggressive tactics. He carries a massive war club, its head carved from dense, black stone. When he addresses your group, his voice is calm but firm. We move fast, we strike hard, we take back what was stolen, and we make them remember the cost of insulting Moundville. The gates open. The palisade walls swing outward with a groan of wood on wood. Beyond lies the pathway that leads north through the agricultural fields, past the outlying settlements, into the territories where Moundville's control begins to fade. You grip your war club tighter. The weight of it is no longer comforting. It's demanding. It wants to be used. You step forward with the others, passing through the gate, leaving the safety of the city behind. Cavalry moves in relative silence. Only the sound of feet on packed earth and the occasional clink of stone on wood as weapons shift. You march in loose formation, roughly 3 warriors abreast, the column stretching perhaps 200 feet long. The pace is fast but sustainable. You'll cover ground quickly without exhausting yourselves before the fight begins. The agricultural fields pass on either side. Workers have already retreated to their small outlying settlements for the night, but you can see the damage the northern raiders did. Corn stalks trampled and broken, not even harvested for food, destroyed purely for destruction's sake. It's an insult, as he who breaks shields said, a challenge. Moundville does not tolerate challenges. As full darkness descends, the column doesn't slow. The path is well known, worn deep by generations of travelers. Above, stars begin to appear, and a thin crescent moon provides minimal light. It's enough. You've walked this path before, though never for this purpose. Your feet find the way automatically. After perhaps 2 hours, Strikes Twice raises his fist. The column halts immediately, every warrior freezing in place. He confers briefly with two scouts who have ranged ahead. You can't hear what they say, but you can see the gestures, pointing north, holding up fingers, making slashing motions with their hands. Information is being communicated in the universal language of warriors. How many, where, what defenses. Strikes Twice returns to the main column. They're camped a half hour ahead, he says quietly, his voice carrying just far enough. Perhaps 40 warriors, maybe more. They think they're safe, they're wrong. He looks at each section of the column. Falcon clan, you'll take the western approach. Wolf clan, eastern. Bear clan holds the southern path in case any try to flee. We surround them. We wait for my signal. Then we show them what Moundville does to thieves. Your group moves off the main path, spreading out as you angle west through the brush. 30 warriors move as quietly as possible through the darkness, but complete silence is impossible. Twigs snap underfoot, leaves rustle. Your breathing seems loud in your own ears, but the enemy camp is ahead, and their own sounds will mask yours. After 15 minutes of careful movement, you smell smoke, wood fires, recently fed. Then you see the orange glow filtering through trees. Strikes twice signals for everyone to crouch and advance more slowly. You drop to a low position, moving forward in an awkward half-crawl that puts strain on your thighs, but keeps your profile below the brush line. The enemy camp resolves gradually into view. It's crude, no palisade, no formal structures, just lean-tos and open fires. The Northern Raiders clearly didn't expect pursuit this fast. Or perhaps they simply don't have the numbers to establish proper defenses. Their arrogance will cost them. You can see figures moving in the firelight. Counting them is difficult, but Strikes Twice's estimate of 40 seems accurate, maybe a few more. They're eating, talking, some already lying down to sleep. A few stand guard at the perimeter, but they're watching the main southern approach, expecting any attack to come from the direction of Moundville. They're not watching the flanks. Strikes Twice positions your group in a curved line, each warrior finding a tree or bush for minimal cover. You end up behind a thick oak, its bark rough against your shoulder. From here, you have a clear view of the camp's western edge. About 20 yards separate you from the nearest enemy warrior. A young man, perhaps your age, sitting by a fire and scraping meat from a bone. You wait, time stretches. Your legs begin to ache from the crouch. Your hand is slick with sweat where it grips the war club. Somewhere to the east, Wolf Clan is taking their position. To the south, Bear Clan waits. The trap is closing, but slowly, carefully. Everyone waits for Strikes Twice's signal. The signal comes not as a sound, but as a sight. A flaming arrow arcing high into the night sky, launched from somewhere to the south. It rises, peaks, and falls into the center of the enemy camp, landing in a pile of dry brush that immediately ignites. Confusion erupts, men shout, some grab weapons, others try to douse the flames. That's when Strikes Twice screams the attack cry, a high, ululating sound that cuts through the night like a blade. Every Moundville warrior echoes it, and suddenly the darkness around the camp explodes with movement and noise. You're running before you consciously decide to run. Your body takes over, fueled by training and adrenaline. The 20 yards disappear in seconds. The young warrior by the fire has time to turn, to see you coming, to raise his hands defensively. Then your war club connects with his skull with a sound like a clay pot shattering. He drops instantly boneless, and you're past him deeper into the camp. Chaos. That's the only word for it. Men fighting everywhere, the clash of stone on stone, of wood on bone, screams of rage and pain mixing, until they're indistinguishable. You swing the club again, catching someone in the ribs. He doubles over, and someone else, another Moundville warrior, finishes him with a downward strike. An enemy warrior charges you, wielding a spear. You dodge left, feeling the point pass close enough to scratch your arm. You reverse direction and swing upward, catching him under the jaw. Teeth and blood fly. He staggers backward and falls into a fire, scattering embers, but you're already moving, already looking for the next threat. Time loses meaning. You fight in a state beyond thought, your body executing movements drilled into it through countless training sessions. Block, strike, step, turn. Your breathing is ragged, your club is slick with blood. Someone grabs you from behind, and you snap your head backward, connecting with a nose. The grip loosens and you spin, club ready, but it's already unnecessary. Another Falcon Clan warrior has driven a knife into your attacker's side. The fighting doesn't last long. Perhaps 15 minutes, though it feels both longer and shorter. The Northern Raiders, surprised and surrounded, break quickly. Some try to flee and are cut down by the Bear Clan warriors, waiting on the southern path. Others surrender, dropping their weapons and falling to their knees. A few fight to the death, taking Moundville warriors with them. When Strikes Twice calls for the fighting to stop, his voice cutting through the chaos like a command from the gods themselves, you obey immediately. Your club is raised for another strike, but you hold it frozen in the air, then slowly lower it. Around you, other warriors do the same. The sudden absence of combat sounds is almost shocking. Now you can hear the wounded moaning, the crackling of fires, your own labored breathing. You look around the camp. Bodies everywhere. Most are northerners, but you count at least 10 Moundville warriors among the dead. Wounded men from both sides lie scattered, some crying out, others silent. The smell of blood is overwhelming, metallic, and thick. Strikes Twice walks among the survivors, both captives and his own men. He's assessing, calculating. You see him kneel beside a fallen Falcon Clan warrior, checking for signs of life. He finds none and moves on. This is the reality of warfare. The aftermath is sometimes harder than the combat itself. You become aware of pain in your shoulder. Looking down, you see a deep gash. You don't remember receiving. Blood runs freely down your arm. You must have been cut during the chaos and didn't notice. The adrenaline is fading now, and with it comes the full awareness of your body's condition. You're exhausted. Your hands shake. Your legs feel weak. But you're alive. That's more than can be said for many here tonight. Strikes Twice organizes the survivors. The wounded Moundville warriors are tended to first, torn strips of cloth to bind wounds, water to ease throats, raw from screaming and smoke. You receive a crude bandage around your shoulder, applied by an older warrior who works quickly and without gentleness. The pain when he pulls the cloth tight is blinding, but you don't cry out. You simply clench your jaw and endure. The captives, 12 northern raiders who surrendered, are bound with leather cords, wrists behind their backs. They'll be marched back to Moundville, where their fate will be decided by the chief and elders. Slavery, most likely, or ritual sacrifice if the priests deem it necessary. Either way, they'll never raid Moundville's fields again. The Moundville dead are handled with more care. Bodies are wrapped in whatever cloth can be spared and arranged in a line. 10 warriors who left at sunset will not see another sunrise. You recognize 3 of them from morning training. One is the young warrior who struggled with his war club technique, the one you'd wanted to help, but hadn't. He's past help now. The northern dead are simply dragged to the edge of the camp and left. Their people can retrieve them if they dare approach. More likely, the bodies will be left for the scavengers, a final insult added to the raid's failure. As the eastern sky begins to show the first hint of gray, Strikes Twice gives the order to move out. The march back will be slower, burdened by wounded and captives, and the bodies of fallen comrades. You take your position in the formation, your shoulder throbbing with each step, your war club cleaned but still showing dark stains in its wood grain. The return march is silent except for the sounds of movement. No one speaks. There's nothing to say. You did what needed to be done. Moundville's honor is restored. The cost is paid. Now you simply walk, one foot in front of the other, toward home. The sun rises as you're crossing back through Moundville's agricultural fields. The light reveals what darkness had hidden. Your entire war party is covered in blood and dirt, moving like ghosts through the corn rows. Workers in the fields stop to watch you pass. They don't cheer. They don't celebrate. They simply watch with the knowing eyes of people who understand that warfare is not glorious, merely necessary. By the time you reach Moundville's northern gate, a crowd has gathered. Word travels fast in a city this size. The gates stand open. Families push forward, searching the returning warriors for familiar faces. You hear a woman wail when she sees her husband's body being carried. You hear another cry of relief when she finds her son alive among the wounded. You have no one searching for you. Your parents died when you were young. You have no wife, no children. Your family is the Falcon Clan, and they welcome warriors collectively, not individually. It's a lonely kind of homecoming, but you're used to loneliness. He who breaks shields is waiting atop Mound A, watching the return. Even from this distance, you can see his single eye tracking the column, counting losses, assessing the success. Strikes twice will report to him soon. Will give the details of the raid and the battle. You're just grateful. You won't have to speak of it yourself. The memories are already beginning to blur at the edges. Your mind protecting itself by softening the sharp images of violence. You're dismissed from formation once you're inside the walls. The wounded are taken to the healers. The captives are led away toward the slave quarters. The bodies are carried toward the burial platforms. And you, along with the other walking wounded, are free to return to your dwellings. The business of warfare is done. For now, you walk through the morning crowds alone, your shoulders screaming with each movement, your legs barely holding you upright. People move aside for you without being asked. One look at your blood-stained body, and they know to give you space. You make it back to your dwelling through sheer force of will. And when you finally step inside, when you're finally alone, your legs give out. You sit heavily on the dirt floor, your back against the wall, and you just breathe. You don't know how long you sit there. Time passes without your awareness. Eventually, you force yourself to move. Your shoulder needs proper attention. The crude battlefield bandage has done its job, but now you need a real healer. The healer's dwelling is located near Mound B, easily identified by the bundles of dried herbs hanging from the entrance. You've been here before for various training injuries. The healer is an old woman called She Who Canals Plants. Her face is a map of wrinkles. Her hands gnarled but still steady. She takes one look at you and gestures to a mat in the corner. You sit. She removes the soaked bandage with surprising gentleness, revealing the gash beneath. It's deep but clean. The blade that cut you was sharp. You were fortunate, she says, her voice like dried leaves rustling. No dirt in the wound. It will heal well if you keep it clean. She prepares a poultice. You can smell yarrow and something else you don't recognize, and packs it into the wound. The pain is intense but brief. Then she wraps it with fresh cloth, this time applying a proper bandage that distributes pressure evenly. Her movements are practiced, efficient. She's done this hundreds of times. 3 days, she says. Keep the bandage dry. Change it daily. Come back if you see red lines spreading from the wound. That means poison in the blood. She hands you a small clay pot filled with more of the poultice, and eat. You need to rebuild strength. You nod and leave, cradling the clay pot carefully. The morning has progressed. The sun is perhaps 3 hands above the horizon now. The plaza is busy with normal city life. The war feels distant already, as if it happened to someone else. But your shoulder throbs with each heartbeat, a persistent reminder that it was real, that you were there, that you survived. You return to your dwelling and finally bathe properly, using water from your storage vessels. You scrub away the accumulated blood and dirt, watching it pool on the earthen floor before slowly being absorbed. The water turns pink, then clear again as you work. Your movements are slow and careful, mindful of your bandaged shoulder. Once clean, you eat. The cornmeal tastes better now, or perhaps you're just hungry enough that anything would taste good. You eat slowly, letting your body absorb the nourishment, feeling strength gradually return to your limbs. The act of eating is meditative, grounding. It brings you fully back into your body after the dissociative state of combat. After eating, exhaustion crashes over you like a wave. Your body demands rest, and you can't deny it. You lie down on your sleeping mat, and despite the bright daylight outside, despite the sounds of the city going about its business, you fall asleep almost immediately. Your dreams are fragmented and disturbing. Faces of the men you killed flash past. The young warrior by the fire, the one who charged with the spear, others whose faces you barely glimpsed in the chaos. They don't speak or accuse, they simply appear and then fade. You don't wake screaming, you simply dream, process, and eventually sink deeper into dreamless sleep. When you wake, the light has changed. It's late afternoon, maybe early evening. You've slept for hours. Your body feels heavy but rested. Your shoulder aches, but it's a dull ache, manageable. You sit up slowly, orienting yourself. You're dwelling, Moundville. You survived. The sun is still in the sky. Life continues. Oh, tomorrow. You think about tomorrow. Training will resume. The cycle will continue. More raids will come from the north or from other directions. You'll fight again. Perhaps you'll die. Perhaps not. But for now, in this moment, you're alive, and that's enough. Evening comes, and with it the familiar sounds of the city settling into night. Cooking fires are rekindled. Families gather. Children's voices drift through the air. Their laughter, a reminder that life exists beyond warfare. You remain in your dwelling, not yet ready to rejoin the world outside. You think about the 3 Falcon Clan warriors who died in the raid. Tomorrow, their bodies will be placed on the burial platforms just outside the city walls. The platforms are elevated structures where the dead are exposed to the sky, their flesh gradually returning to the world through the attention of birds and weather. It's an honorable end, becoming sky again. You wonder if you'll end that way. It seems likely. Few warriors die peacefully in their sleep. Most meet their end in combat, and their bodies are given back to the sky. It's not a morbid thought, just a realistic one. Death is woven into the fabric of Moundville life, as common as birth, as inevitable as the river's flow. As full darkness falls, you finally step outside. The plaza is mostly empty now. Just a few people crossing from one place to another. You walk slowly toward the palisade, not for any particular reason, just to move, to feel your legs working, to remind yourself that you're still capable of action. At the wall, you look out through gaps between the logs. Beyond the city lies darkness, but you know what's out there. Villages and fields and forests, rivers and valleys, and people who wish Moundville harm. The world outside the walls is dangerous, always has been, always will be. That's why the walls exist. That's why warriors like you train every morning. That's why you killed 3 men last night and would do it again if necessary. You stand there for a long time just looking out into the darkness, thinking about everything and nothing. Eventually, you turn and walk back to your dwelling. Tomorrow, training will resume. The cycle continues. This is the rhythm of your life. Morning comes again. Your shoulder is stiff and painful, but you can move it. You eat, dress, and head to the plaza for training. Some part of you expected to be excused, but you're not. Warriors train regardless of minor injuries. Your wound is bandaged and manageable. Therefore, you train. The plaza holds fewer warriors today. 10 did not return, and several more are too injured to participate. But perhaps 40 warriors still gather, still form their lines, still run through the familiar drills. Your movements are careful, compensating for your shoulder, but you complete each exercise. Your instructor watches you more closely today, but says nothing. Off to training, instead of bathing immediately, you join the procession to the burial platforms. The families of the dead lead the way, carrying the wrapped bodies. Other warriors follow out of respect. You walk with the Falcon Clan, your hand resting on your war club as if it were a ceremonial staff. The burial platforms stand just beyond the northern gate, in a sacred grove marked by 4 tall poles. Each platform is perhaps 8 feet high, made of strong timbers lashed together. The bodies are lifted onto the platforms by family members and fellow warriors. You help carry one of the Falcon Clan dead, the young warrior who had struggled with his technique. His body is surprisingly light. A priest speaks words in a language older than Moundville. calling to the spirits of sky and earth. Smoke from burning herbs drifts across the platforms. The families weep quietly. You stand with the other warriors, silent and still, paying respect to those who fell doing what you might do any day. When it's finished, everyone returns to the city. Life continues. The dead are honored and then left to their transformation. This is the way it's always been. Days pass into weeks. Your shoulder heals gradually. The bandage comes off after 10 days, revealing an angry red scar that will fade to pale white over time. You return to full training. Your movements no longer compensated. The scar becomes just another mark on your body, another memory written in flesh. The rhythm of Moundville life reasserts itself, training every morning, eating, bathing in the river, maintenance of weapons and dwelling, occasional guard duty on the palisade wall. The cycle repeats with comforting predictability. The raid on the northern villages becomes a story told in quiet voices, already being shaped into something more dramatic than it was. One afternoon, you're summoned to Mound A. He who breaks shields wants to see you specifically, which is unusual. You climb the mound with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Warriors are summoned to the war chief for one of three reasons: commendation, reassignment, or punishment. You can't think of what you might be punished for, but uncertainty gnaws at you. The war chief's dwelling atop the mound is impressive, larger than 10 normal dwellings combined. Its walls, decorated with shells, arranged in spiral patterns. You enter when called and find he who breaks shields sitting on a raised platform, his one good eye fixing you with an evaluating stare. "You fought well," he says without preamble. Strikes twice spoke highly of your actions. Clean kills, no hesitation, good awareness of your surroundings. He pauses, letting this sink in. "I'm assigning you to the elite guard. You'll train with them, starting tomorrow. They're the warriors who defend the chiefs and conduct the most dangerous missions. It's an honor, you'll feel. Complicated. Pride, yes, but also the weight of expectation. The elite guard means harder training, more dangerous assignments, higher likelihood of death. But you can't refuse. You wouldn't want to refuse. This is what you've been training for." "Yes, war chief." You say, simply. He nods once. Dismissed, the elite guard trains differently. You discover this immediately. Where the regular warrior training focuses on mass combat and formation fighting, the elite guard trains for precision, speed, and individual excellence. There are only 20 warriors in this group, and every one of them is a veteran of multiple campaigns. Your new instructor is called Breaks Bones Quaitly, a man perhaps 35 summers old, his body a canvas of scars, each one telling a story of survival. He's missing the last 2 fingers on his right hand, but it doesn't slow his movements. If anything, it seems to make him more dangerous, more unpredictable. Training begins before dawn, earlier than the regular warriors. You taught new techniques, grappling holds designed to immobilize opponents silently, throat strikes that kill without allowing a scream, ways to move through brush with minimal sound. This is training for raids, for assassinations, for missions where subtlety matters as much as strength. The physical demands are brutal. You run long distances carrying heavy stones. You climb the mounds repeatedly until your legs shake with exhaustion. You practice weapons drills until your hands bleed. And through it all, Breaks Bones quietly watches with those cold, evaluating eyes, occasionally demonstrating a technique, more often simply observing and letting you learn through repetition and failure. 3 weeks into elite guard training, you participate in your first mission. A village to the west has been raiding Moundville's hunting grounds, killing the deer that belong to the city. It's not a major offense, but it can't be ignored. The elite guard will deliver a message, harsh but clear. You move out at night, just 8 warriors, including Breaks Bones, quietly. No large column this time. No surrounding the enemy and overwhelming them with numbers. This is precision work. You'll kill their chief and their war leader, take their weapons, and leave. A surgical strike designed to cripple leadership without starting a full war. Character appearance, your body has become even leaner and more defined from the elite training. New small cuts and bruises mark your hands and forearms from weapons practice. Your face shows the strain of harder training. Deeper shadows under your eyes, harder lines around your mouth. Your old shoulder scar is now just a pale line. Your spiral tattoo seems more prominent somehow, as if your body is becoming more purely the vessel of a warrior. The journey to the western village takes most of the night. You move single file through the forest, each warrior maintaining visual contact with the one ahead, moving as quietly as 8 men can move through underbrush. It's not perfect silence, branches snap occasionally, leaves rustle, but it's quiet enough that when you finally spot the village ahead, its inhabitants are still sleeping. The village is smaller than Moundville, perhaps 200 people, maybe 30 warriors total. No palisade, just a cluster of dwellings around a central fire pit. 2 guards walk a loose perimeter, but they're not expecting trouble. One is actually sitting, his back against a tree, possibly asleep, breaks bones quietly, gathers the group into a tight circle. His instructions are whispered but clear. The chief's dwelling is the large one to the north. War leader lives beside him. We take them both, no one else unless they interfere. We're not here to massacre. We're here to send a message. The group splits. 4 warriors head for the chief's dwelling, including you. The other 4 will handle the war leader, but Craig's bones quietly will remain in the trees, watching for complications. You approach the dwelling low and slow, using shadows and structures for cover. Your heart pounds, but your breathing stays controlled. This is different from the chaotic battle weeks ago. This is calculated, precise. In some ways, it's more terrifying. You reach the dwelling. The entry is covered only by a hide flap. One warrior lifts it slowly while another slips inside. You follow. The interior is dark, lit only by dying embers in the fire pit. You can see 2 figures sleeping on mats, the chief and presumably his wife. The lead warrior moves to the chief's side. What happens next is quick and silent. A hand over the mouth, a blade across the throat. The chief jerks once and goes still. His wife wakes, starts to scream, but another warrior is already there, hand clamping over her mouth. "Quiet," he whispers. "We're not here for you. Don't follow us. Don't send warriors after us." This is the price for raiding Moundville's grounds. You're already backing out of the dwelling. The whole thing took perhaps 30 seconds. Outside, the other group emerges from the war leader's dwelling. Mission complete. The group reassembles in the shadows, counts off silently, and melts back into the forest. The return to Moundville is accomplished in silence. No one speaks. There's nothing to say. The mission was successful. 2 leaders dead, no casualties. A clear message delivered. Moundville's hunting grounds will likely be left alone now, at least by that village. But something feels different to you. The chaotic battle weeks ago was comprehensible in a way. It was violence meeting violence, a direct confrontation. This was different. This was entering someone's home while they slept and killing them. Necessary, perhaps. Justified by the standards of Moundville's authority, but different. You arrive back at the city as dawn breaks. Breaks bones quietly, reports directly to he who breaks shields, while the rest of you disperse. You return to your dwelling, store your weapons, and sit on your sleeping mat, thinking. You're not troubled by the killing itself. You've killed before and will kill again. It's the nature of your existence, but this feels more calculated, colder. You're becoming a different kind of warrior. The transition from foot soldier to elite guard means more than just harder training. It means becoming a tool for political ends, for messages written in blood. You sleep for a few hours, then wake to the normal sounds of Monville, going about its day. You eat, you bathe in the river. You go through the motions of routine, but part of your mind is elsewhere, processing what you've become. That evening, you sit atop the palisade wall again, watching the sun set. Below, people live their lives, craftsmen making tools, farmers bringing in harvests, children playing, women weaving, men debating. All of this exists because of warriors like you. The peace within these walls is purchased with blood spilled beyond them. You're not a defender, exactly. You're more like a necessary evil. The violence that prevents greater violence. Or maybe you're just a killer who serves a city. The distinction seems less clear than it once did. Weeks turn into months. You complete more elite guard missions, some similar to the first, others different in nature. You escort important traders through dangerous territory. You scout enemy villages and report on their defenses. You participate in raids designed to capture specific prisoners. Each mission adds to your experience and to the collection of scars on your body. Your skill grows. You're faster now, more efficient. You can kill silently in 3 different ways. You know how to read tracks in the forest, how to estimate a settlement's population from the size of its refuse heaps, how to move through water without leaving obvious signs. You're becoming exactly what Moundville needs you to be. A weapon honed and directed, but something else is growing too, a kind of weariness, not physical exhaustion. Your body is stronger than ever. It's something deeper. You're tired of death, tired of being the hand that delivers it. You don't speak of this to anyone, of course. Such thoughts are pointless, even dangerous. You have a role. You fulfill it. That's all there is. One morning after training, you're walking through the plaza when you see something that makes you stop. A young boy, perhaps 7 summers old, is playing with a stick, pretending it's a war club. He's mimicking the movements you've practiced 1,000 times. The overhead strike, the side swipe, the thrust. He's doing it badly, his form completely wrong, but he's fully committed to the performance, making whooshing sounds with his mouth as he defeats imaginary enemies. You watch him for a moment. He looks up, sees you watching, and freezes. He's seen your scars, your tattoo, the way other warriors defer to you slightly. He knows what you are. You expect fear in his eyes, but instead you see admiration, hero worship. You should walk away, but instead you crouch down to his level. Your grip is wrong, you say quietly, gesturing to how he's holding the stick. Hold it like this. You adjust his small hands and your stance is too wide. Bring your feet closer together, just a bit. There. Now, try the overhead strike. The boy executes the movement, and while it's still far from perfect, it's better. His face splits into a huge grin. "Thank you," he says, and runs off to show his friends his improved technique. You stand slowly, watching him go, feeling something you can't quite name. This child will probably grow up to be a warrior. He'll probably kill and be killed in service to Moundville. And you just helped him take the first step on that path. You don't know how to feel about that. That night you dream, not the fragmented, disturbing dreams of the first days after combat, but something different. You dream of a version of yourself that never picked up a war club. In the dream, you're a farmer, or perhaps a craftsman. Your hands are scarred from tools and work, not from weapons. You have a wife, maybe children. You wake up to 10 crops, not to train for killing. The dream is so vivid that when you wake, for a moment you're disoriented, expecting to find yourself in a different life. But no, you're in your familiar dwelling, weapons along the wall, your warrior's body lying on the sleeping mat. The dream was just that, a dream, a glimpse of an impossible path. You rise and go about your routine, but the dream lingers in your mind all day. During training, as you practice silent kills with the elite guard, you think about farming. During weapon maintenance, you imagine crafting pots instead of sharpening blades. It's foolish, pointless. You are what you are, but the thoughts persist. A few days later, you're assigned another mission. This one is different. You're not raiding or scouting. Instead, you're part of an escort for a group of Moundville's elite traveling to a tributary city 3 days south. Mat work, mostly ceremony. Your role is simply to look dangerous and discourage any raids on the traveling party. The journey south is uneventful. You walk, you camp, you move on. The elites you're escorting, high-ranking members of the chief's administration, talk among themselves about trade and politics, subjects you know nothing about and care less for. You're just doing your job. On the second night, camped beside a creek, one of the elites approaches you. He's an older man, perhaps 50 summers, his face round and prosperous. "Your elite guard, yes?" he asks. "Yes." You confirm. "How many men have you killed?" It's a strange question. You don't know how to answer it. How many? You honestly don't know. The northern raid was chaos. The assassination missions are clearer, but even there, numbers blur. "I don't count," you finally say. He nods as if this means something. Good. The best warriors never do. He walks away, leaving you confused about whether you've been complimented or criticized. You decide it doesn't matter and go back to watching the perimeter. You return to Moundville after successfully completing the escort mission. Nothing dramatic happened. No raids, no combat. Just 3 days of walking and 3 days back. Yet something feels different. The question the elite asked stays with you. How many men have you killed? And more troubling, does it matter? You resume your routine, but the questioning persists. During training, you watch the other elite guard warriors, but Craig's Bones, Queetlily, the others who've been doing this for years. Do they ever wonder? Do they ever dream of different lives? Their faces show nothing. They're professionals, as you're supposed to be. One evening, you do something unusual. Instead of returning to your dwelling after training, you walk to one of the smaller mounds. Mound E, located on the eastern edge of the city. It's a lesser mound, not occupied by important officials, but from its summit you can see the river and the forest beyond. You climb the rough path to the top and just sit, looking out at the darkening landscape. The river flows as it always does. The forest stands as it always has. Moundville sprawls below you, smoke from 1,000 fires rising into the evening air. It's all very permanent seeming, but you know it's not. Cities fall, civilizations crumble. The northern raiders you fought months ago probably thought their village would last forever, too. You're not having some grand philosophical revelation. You're just tired of killing, tired of being a tool, tired of the weight of it all. But what choice do you have? This is the role assigned to you by birth and training. You can no more choose to stop being a warrior than the river can choose to stop flowing. A voice behind you breaks your reverie. Troubled thoughts? You turn to see Breaksbones quietly, standing a few paces away. You hadn't heard him approach, which speaks to his skill or your distraction. "No, instructor," you say automatically. He moves to sit beside you, which is unusual. Instructors don't typically share space with students like this. "I had a dream once," he says, looking out at the river, not at you. "I was a fisherman. I had a small boat and spent my days on the water. It was peaceful. No war, no death. Just fish and river." He pauses. "Then I woke up and remembered who I was. The dream felt like a betrayal of my purpose." You say nothing. You don't know what to say. "But it wasn't a betrayal," he continues. "It was just my mind showing me what I'd sacrificed. We all sacrifice something to be what we are. The question is whether the sacrifice has meaning." He stands, think on that, and then decide if you're going to stay in the elite. Dart, God, or if you want to return to the regular warriors. Either is acceptable, but decide he leaves as silently as he came. You sit alone atop the mound as full darkness falls, thinking about dreams and sacrifices and meaning. You spend 3 days thinking about breaks, bones, quietly's words. During training, during meals, during your time alone, the question persists. Does your sacrifice have meaning? You don't arrive at a clear answer, but you do arrive at a decision. On the 4th day, you seek out he who breaks shields. He receives you in his dwelling atop Mound A, that single eye fixing you with its usual intensity. You wish to step down from the elite guard, he states. It's not a question. No, War Chief, you say. I wish to remain, but I needed to be sure it was my choice, not just inevitability. The War Chief's scarred face shifts in what might be a smile. Good. Warriors who don't question their path become reckless or cruel. Those who question and choose to stay become wise. He pauses. You're dismissed. Training continues tomorrow. You leave feeling lighter somehow, as if naming the weight has made it easier to carry. You chose this. That matters. The killing will continue. The missions will come. But now you carry them differently. Not as a tool following commands, but as a person making choices, however limited those choices might be. That night, you don't dream of farming or crafts. You dream of Moundville, its mounds, its people, its continuation. And when you wake, you feel centered in a way you haven't in months. This is your place. This is your purpose. Not because you couldn't imagine anything else, but because you chose it. Knowing what it costs, time continues its relentless march. Seasons change. You complete more missions with the elite guard, each one different, each one adding to your experience. You become known within the warrior community. Not famous, exactly, but respected. Younger warriors sometimes watch you train, trying to emulate your movements. You don't discourage them, but you don't encourage them either. They'll find their own paths. One autumn morning, Moundville receives visitors. A delegation from a city far to the east. They come with gifts and proposals for a defensive alliance. The northern villages have been forming coalitions, growing bolder. Multiple cities banding together seems prudent. You're assigned to the honor guard that escorts these visitors during their stay. The eastern delegation includes their own warriors, and you observe them with professional interest. They fight differently, longer spears, different stance patterns. During a demonstration arranged for entertainment, you watch their elite warrior spar with one of Moundville's champions. The styles clash interestingly. Neither is clearly superior, just different. That evening, there's a feast atop Mound A. You stand guard at the perimeter while the elites eat and negotiate. The Eastern War Chief, a woman which surprises you, notices you watching and approaches. You're elite guard, she says. It's a statement, not a question. She can read warriors the way you can. Yes, you confirm. How long have you served? 2 years in elite guard. 5 years as a warrior before that. She nods thoughtfully. In my city, we believe warriors should serve for a fixed term, then transition to other roles. Fresh eyes stay sharper. What do you think? You consider this. The idea of warriors retiring, of leaving this life for something else, is foreign to Moundville's culture. I think you say carefully that some warriors couldn't stop even if allowed to. The war becomes who they are. And you? She asks. Has it become who you are? You don't answer immediately. Finally, I'm still deciding. She smiles slightly. Good answer. Then she returns to the feast, leaving you with yet another question to contemplate. The Eastern delegation stays friendly. On the final day, the alliance is formalized with elaborate ceremonies and gift exchanges. You watch it all from your position in the honor guard, thinking about the Eastern War Chief's words, as war become who you are. Can you separate the warrior from the person? During training one morning, Breaksbones quietly notices your distraction. After the session, he pulls you aside. Your technique is as sharp as ever, he says, but your focus wanders. Something's changed, you don't deny it. He's quiet for a moment, and you wonder if you could do that. If you could stop, yes. He looks at you with those knowing eyes. You could pull. The question is whether you should, and whether now is the time. The North grows bolder. Coalition wars may be coming. Would you leave before that storm breaks? It's the right question. Your internal debate has been abstract. Could you stop being a warrior? But the practical question is different. Should you stop now, when Moundville may need experienced fighters more than ever? No, you say finally, not now, not yet, but someday. Breaksbones quietly nods. Someday is enough. It means you haven't lost yourself completely to the war. You're still human underneath the scars. Winter comes to Moundville. The air grows cold, the river runs dark and swift with rain, and warfare typically slows during this season. The elite guard still trains, but missions are rare. It's a time of maintenance and preparation for the spring campaigns that always come. You use this quieter time to explore other aspects of the city. You visit the craftsmen's areas more often, watching stone who breaks, create weapons, but also observing the potters, the weavers, the shell carvers. You're not learning their trades. That would take years. But you're acknowledging they exist, that there's more to Moundville than combat. One cold afternoon, you encounter the boy you helped months ago, the one who was playing with a stick. He's grown, as children do, and he recognizes you immediately. "Warrior," he calls out, running over. "I've been practicing." Father says, "In 2 more years, I can begin real training." You feel a complicated mix of emotions. Pride that your brief instruction mattered. Sadness that this bright child is headed down the same blood-soaked path. Practice hard, you tell him, but also learn other things. Learn to make things, not just break them. He looks confused. This isn't the advice he expected from an elite guard warrior. But he nods seriously. "Yes, warrior." Then he runs off, back to his friends and their games. You watch him go, wondering if your words will matter at all, or if he'll forget them the moment real training begins. Probably the latter. The warrior path has a momentum that's hard to resist once you're on it. That evening, you attend a community gathering in the plaza, something you normally avoid. People are sharing stories, singing songs, celebrating the winter solstice. You stand at the edge, not quite participating, but no longer entirely separate either. You're trying to remember how to be part of the community you protect, not just its weapon. A woman your age notices you standing alone and brings you a cup of warm liquid, some kind of herbal tea. "You look cold," she says simply. You accept it, and she stays, making small conversation about nothing important. Weather, harvests, simple things. It's surprisingly pleasant, this meaningless talk. No stakes, no death. Just 2 people sharing warmth on a cold night. When the gathering ends and people disperse, you return to your dwelling feeling different. Not happy exactly, but less alone. Spring arrives, and with it the predicted troubles. The Northern Coalition launches coordinated raids on multiple fronts. Moundville's alliance with the Eastern City proves immediately valuable. Warriors are shared, intelligence is pooled, responses are coordinated. The peace is over. War season has begun. You're deployed almost constantly. 3 raids in as many weeks, then a defensive action when Northerners attempt to breach Moundville's outer fields. It's exhausting, relentless. The winter's quiet introspection seems like a dream now. You're back to being a weapon, and weapons don't have time for philosophy. During a brief respite between deployments, you're sitting in your dwelling cleaning your war club when Breaksbones quietly appears at your entrance. Walk with me, he says. You follow him through the city, past the busy plaza, up onto the palisade walkway. He stops at a section overlooking the northern approaches. The war chief wants to send a major force north. He says without preamble, we're going to strike at the heart of their coalition, take out the two largest villages in a coordinated assault. It'll be a week-long campaign, maybe more. High casualties expected on both sides. You nod, absorbing this? When? 5 days. The elite guard will lead the assault on the western village. He pauses. It'll be brutal. The kind of fight where half the warriors who leave don't return. I'm telling you now because if you want to withdraw from the elite guard before this deployment, I'll support it. No shame. This will be worse than anything you've experienced. You look out at the northern lands, thinking about the past 2 years, the kills, the scars, the questioning, the brief taste of community during winter. The possibility of someday stepping away from this life. But not now. Not when Moundville faces its greatest threat. Not when your experience and skill might save other warriors' lives. I'll go, you say. Breaks bones quietly expected this answer. Good. We'll need you, but afterwards, if there is an afterwards for you, think about that soon with a seriously. You've given enough. The 5 days of preparation pass in a blur of activity. Weapons are sharpened and resharpened. Supplies are gathered. Dried corn, water skins, extra leather for emergency bandages. Warriors from the Eastern Alliance arrive to coordinate the assault. Plans are reviewed repeatedly. Everyone knows this will be the decisive engagement, the one that either breaks the Northern Coalition or emboldens them beyond control. On the morning of departure, Moundville gathers in the plaza. It's a scene you've witnessed before, but never on this scale. 400 warriors assembled, painted for war, armed and determined. The chief himself appears atop Mount A to bless the force. Priests burn herbs and chant in the old language. Families embrace warriors who might not return. You have no family to embrace. But the woman from the winter gathering, you've learned her name is Cornflower Blooming, finds you in the crowd. She presses a small woven pouch into your hand. Medicine herbs, she says, for wounds. Come back safely. Then she's gone, disappearing into the crowd before you can respond. You tuck the pouch into your belt, touched by the gesture more than you expected to be. Someone cares if you live or die. That's something. The force moves out in a column that stretches for a quarter mile. Elite guard at the front, regular warriors following, support personnel in the rear. The pace is fast. You need to cover significant distance before the Northern Coalition realizes a major force is moving against them. You march for 2 days, camping in defensive positions at night, moving before dawn each morning. On the 3rd day, scouts report the western village ahead, larger than expected, perhaps 300 warriors, well fortified with a palisade of their own. The assault will be costly. That night, the final night before battle, you sit with the other elite guard warriors around a small fire. No one speaks much. Some check weapons for the 100th time. Others simply stare into the flames. Breaks bones quickly, makes eye contact with each warrior. A silent acknowledgement that some of you won't survive tomorrow. You think about the medicine pouch from Cornflower Blooming, about the boy who wants to be a warrior, about the Eastern War Chief's question, has war become who you are? Tomorrow you'll have your answer. In battle, in the moment of truth, you'll discover if you're still human underneath all the scars, or if you've become nothing but the weapon you've trained yourself to be. Dawn breaks. The assault begins. The Moundville force splits, half attacking the western village, half moving east to strike the coalition's other strongholds simultaneously. You're with the western assault, elite guard at the Vanguard. The plan is simple: breach the palisade, create chaos, eliminate leadership, force surrender or annihilation. The northern village, has guards, but not enough. The assault is swift and brutal. Your group reaches the palisade wall and begins the work of breaching it. Warriors with axes chopping at the wooden logs, while others provide cover with spears and arrows. The defenders respond, raining stones and projectiles down from elevated positions. A stone catches you in the ribs, driving the breath from your body. You stumble but don't fall. Can't fall. Keep moving. The wall breach opens. Warriors pour through. You're among them. The village interior dissolves into chaos. This is larger than the raid months ago. More organized, but also more desperate. The Northerners are fighting for their homes, their families. They fight with the ferocity of the cornered. Moundville fights with the discipline of trained warriors. Both sides take terrible casualties. The journey back to Moundville takes 5 days, longer than the outward march because of the wounded. You walk with a limp now, your ribs making each step painful. But you walk. Many don't. Of the 400 who left, 327 return. 73 stayed behind, their bodies given to the earth or the sky, depending on what was practical in the field. News reaches Moundville before you do. The assault on the eastern village was also successful. Though at similar cost, the Northern Coalition is broken. It will take them years to recover if they ever do. The war, for now, is won. The returning warriors are greeted not with celebration but with quiet relief. Families reclaim their living. Others mourn their dead. You walk through the plaza, your wounds bandaged now but still painful, and people make way for you. They see what you've become, what you've paid, and they honor it with space and silence. Cornflower blooming finds you by the river. You're attempting to bathe, to wash away the accumulated blood and filth of battle and travel. She helps you, gently cleaning wounds you can't reach, applying medicine from the pouch she gave you. She doesn't speak much. Neither do you. There's not much to say. After you're clean and bandaged properly, she asks the question you've been avoiding asking yourself. Will you fight again? You think about the boy who wants to be a warrior, about the 73 who didn't return, about Breaksbones Quietly's wounded leg, his fighting career probably over, about the Eastern War Chief's question regarding whether war has become your identity, about someday becoming now. Not like this, you say finally. I'll train younger warriors. I'll defend the walls if Moundville is directly threatened. But no more campaigns, no more raids. I've given enough. She nods as if she expected this answer. Then what will you do? You don't have a complete answer, but you have the beginning of one. Learn to make things instead of breaking them. Find out who I am when I'm not being a weapon. You look out at Moundville. Its mounds rising against the sky, its people going about their lives. The peace you helped purchase with blood and trauma. This city will continue. New warriors will train, fight, and die in their turn. The cycle will persist, but your paw in it is ending. You think about the dreams you've had of being a farmer, a craftsman, something other than a killer. Those dreams don't seem impossible anymore. Difficult, certainly. Unfamiliar, but not impossible. The sun is setting over Moundville, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. You sit by the river with cornflower blooming beside you. And for the first time in 7 years, you think about tomorrow not as another day of training for death, but as a day of learning to live. The scars will remain, the memories won't fade. You'll always be someone who has killed and survived. But perhaps you can also become someone who builds, who creates, who does more than destroy. Perhaps you can find that peace. Perhaps there can be a life after the war, and so your story ends, not with death, but with choice. You survived when 73 didn't. You chose to step back when you could have continued. The scars remain, but they're becoming part of a past rather than a perpetual present. Moundville continues, as it has for centuries, its warriors training each dawn, its cycles of peace and war, turning like the seasons. But you're no longer just a part of that cycle. You're something more now. Someone who fought, survived, and found the courage to imagine a different future. Now, as you drift towards sleep in your own comfortable world, far removed from ancient warfare and blood-soaked plazas, let the weight of your day release. The stories of the past are fascinating, but they're just that. Stories. Your bed is safe. Your tomorrow holds no war clubs, no raids, no desperate battles. Rest easy. Dream peacefully. The ancient warriors have earned their rest, and so have you. Sleep well.